Hello, today I'm going to go over how to perform some back routine with resistance bands. So once again, you can go ahead and step in the band. You want the band to be running in the middle of your foot roughly, or just slightly behind the middle of your foot. It depends on how you like it. For back specifically, I like trying to make sure the band is a little bit more directly in the middle. And with this, you have this chunk of free band up here as you see. What we're going to go ahead and do, and just grab it somewhere down here on each side and make sure we have roughly equal tension. Just try your best, you don't really need to make sure it's 100% perfect. And once again, if you're having a hard time, go ahead and use your socks as a guide. And just like that, you can go ahead and perform rows simply like this. That's it. So to give you a side view of what I'm doing here, bring the band back a bit. Okay. And the great thing about these is they don't need to be done super heavy either. You're just trying to stretch everything out and really activate it. Now, if you want more tension on a standing row with the band, you can set it up the way we set up our traps earlier. So we're going to double up the band and then step on it. It creates a little handle on each end. And with this, we've now created two handles, which gives us a lot more tension. And it gives us two handles to pretty much use. Alright, just to give you a side view to fix the band. Alright, so, and I have much heavier bands. I'm going to tell you right now that if somebody is capable of doing a standing row with this Mammoth Elite FTS band, I would absolutely be fucking amazed. So weight here, or maximum tension, or like excessive, isn't the goal here. It's just performing the routine. That's it. Alright. So what we got next that we're going to do for back, a lot of rowing movements obviously work the back. If you want a little bit more lower back focused, keep more parallel to the floor. If you want to shift focus a little bit more up to the lower trap into the upper back section, you pretty much just change the angle. That's pretty much it. The thing is you're shifting, when you do that, a lot of the weight that's being isometrically held by your lumbar gets shifted to being actively engaged by your lower trap and your upper back. That's just my opinion though, so just to show you what I mean with the band though. I should have created handles. So if you want more upper back focus, you can bring it up like this. Make sure you're still driving the elbows. So whatever works for you. What I'm saying is you don't have to be fully parallel to the floor in order to do these. Now, there is another variation we're going to perform next. We get to go down to the floor. will not be easy to capture all on camera. So let me just do my best here. So what I've done is I've ran the band underneath my foot, and I'm going to double up the band to give it a little handle on each side. Just to show you what's going on with my feet stay like this even when they're way out here. So the band, it's very unlikely the band should ever come back to you unless you're doing this like very heavy. And this is a nice cable row mimic. And with this, you want to make sure you try to stretch the back, right? And because, once again, the bands make it easy for us, we don't need to double it up if we don't want to. We can just run any little band around our feet like this. Make sure we have equal tension with our socks as an indicator. And the barbell's in the way. Alright, so we can go ahead and then perform it this way as well. And with this, you can keep it pronated hand position, bring it neutral, or even supinated if you want. Once again, these don't need to be done heavier, but I do like doing these as my heavier set for my back if I do use resistance bands. The reason why is because you don't have great tension you're not putting any structures into like a compromising position, as long as you can keep your feet like this. So what you want to do is try to lock your heels in and angled like this, so it's going against your entire See if I can get it one more time. I'm going to reduce the tension on there, just so we can see what's going on. Yep. Just want to bring it a bit, your elbows a bit lower, and move your barbells. Alright. So what we've gone over is some row variations, a standing row, a seated on the floor row. None of this has so far required anything besides bands. For lats do become a little bit more difficult because, well, to show you what I mean, I can't. Alright, so we're going to do something a little bit different for lats. Since we don't have a way of doing pull downs or anything, if you do want to do pull downs, you can go ahead and search into my videos for how I perform pull downs at home. I'm not going to set it up right here right now. Another thing you can do though is a very simple workout. This is just mimic that you are doing a little bit different of a lat pull down. So instead of just pulling it down, you're going to give myself a little bit of tension there because it's a little tight. Now there is a problem with this exercise, is yes, it will activate the lats a bit. But because you're keeping your arms straight throughout the exercise, and because it's a form of transverse abduction, it is going to have a great amount of rear delt activation. Which is fine for a back day. But just keep that in mind as well. If you have an anchor, you can just anchor it and put a band around it and perform your lat pull downs. In my personal opinion, lats are not very important to directly hit. It depends on the person, obviously, and your goals. But in my personal opinion, if you really want to get the greatest lat activation, I'd recommend doing those seated rows, because the more lumbar stabilization, lumbar is your lower back, the less stabilization it's doing in the exercise, the more lat activation that occurs with your rows. So like a seated chest supported row that supports your lumbar, or even when I was doing the seated cable row, it was putting a lot less on my lumbar, so it allowed me to get a lot more activation in the lat. Everyone is different, but I believe lats are, unless you're a bodybuilder, it's a lot different, I guess, but I believe lats are best built by rows. I don't think anything beats a row for back development. So that's just my opinion. So we're going to go over some biceps as well. Simply, we're going to stand in the band. And with these, we're mimicking a barbell curl. Once again, using your knees as an indicator. Where your hands are and how much tension is on both sides. And then you can go ahead and just curl it. And the great part about this is if you do it like this, the band tries to forcibly keep your hands supinated. So to give you a side view, so this is the side view. And with this, you're not going to keep your elbow static to your side. You want to just drive it a little bit. Shift a little bit of focus from that brachialis, instead of shift it to the bicep. So, those are some barbell mimic curls. With heavier bands, they could sometimes over-supinate your hands and feel uncomfortable. You'll figure out what's comfortable as you get heavier. Just to show you what I mean, what happens if you try this heavier. Alright, so it gets absolutely amazing activation as well, because you're keeping consistent tension on the bicep throughout the entire range of motion. So generally you don't even need to do it heavier either. Your goal is to focus on that mind-muscle connection and getting yourself to the point where you're excelling and increasing tension over time. So we have some other bicep variations. If you have a little band, if you're taller, this exercise might be completely out of the question because it might put too much tension on your bands and break them, unless you're able to go to a heavier band, which if you can do these heavier, amazing. But I do highly doubt anybody's using the Elite FTS Mammoth Band to do these either. With this, give you a side view. If the bands don't feel comfortable on your hands, or if they slide down your fingers, go ahead and always reset. You want to make sure the band is as comfortable in your hand as possible. Alright. Alright. That puts the bands under a great amount of tension though, and you have to keep your feet together. If I brought my feet apart any bit there, it would have put too much tension on the band and probably broke it. Alright. So we went over a few variations in terms of, we went over some barbell row mimics, standing row mimics, seated row mimics, and we went over some lats. If you want more lat information, once again, search for my how I perform lat pull downs at home short/video on my channel, or you can perform a type of just resistance pull down. Once again, grabbing a lighter band. Here we got a broken little bit. Perfect. Now you can focus more on driving it directly to the clavicular portion of the pec. Drive it down a little bit further. Once again though, it's going to have a great amount of rear delt activation because of the transverse abduction of keeping your arms straight throughout that motion. But it will also work the lats. And my personal opinion of lats is it's best to work it with compound rows that do not have lumbar stabilization, like cable rows or chest supported rows. Then we went over some biceps, some barbell bicep mimics, and some standing dumbbell mimics. Now I'll go over something that not everybody might have access to. Alright. What we have next is going to be something that's going to work the peak of the bicep if this is something you want to work on. Now you can go from here and just perform your single arm curls. And with these, you're able to get full range of motion, focus on the full rep. This is a little light, but it's absolutely fine. Once again, I'm able to keep consistent tension throughout the entire range of motion, so it's at least getting blood flowing there for me. Try not to keep your elbow too close to you. Try to keep your elbow straight down to the floor if you can. Alright, and let's go ahead and just try a heavier one and show you how that goes. So what we're going to do is get ourselves set up once again. Okay, it's still a little too light. See, I find my elbow is becoming a little too close there. So I'm going to bring it, point it to the ground. So once again, elbow pointed to the ground. You're not trying to float it back. And I'm floating it back again. And that is a great exercise for building the peak of the bicep, and also good as a bent over single-handed bicep curl mimic. Alright, so that's pretty much it. If there's any other questions or anything else people would like to know, go ahead and ask. There's one more thing you can go ahead and throw into this. Because you're using resistance bands and you won't be able to put the same amount of tension on your lumbar as you will, let's say, using a barbell or something. What I mean is, when you hold a barbell at parallel, your lumbar is taking a lot more of it's a lot more isometrically contracted and activated. So with these, there's going to be less lumbar throughout the entire routine. If you have lower back issues, this might be optimal. But a good exercise to add, if you'd like, for biceps, for lower back, is going to be simplistic rack curl. rack curls, rack pulls. And you just set yourself up either with like this, or you can double it up if you want. Whichever suits your style best. And with this, you really want to make sure you're at least getting the band to below the knee. If you start bringing it way even further lower than that, you'll lose a lot of tension on the band. So rack pulls are a good exercise to also get some lumbar activation in there. Other than that, any questions or concerns or anything, go ahead and ask. Thank you for watching. All right.